telephone rings. Start again, sorry. We can't start. Right, apparently we've started already. My name's Colin McDowell, and welcome to SHOWstudio. Not a very good beginning, but we'll catch up. And our coverage of Paris shows with this morning Rick Owens, and we've got a very good panel here who are going to tell you all about themselves.
My name is Spiteri. I'm an owner of a boutique in London called Anthem. I've been a menswear buyer for international department stores for 10 years. That's it. That's who I am.
Thank you.
My name is Carson McColl. I'm a singer-songwriter with the band Sullen Vaux, and I'm also chief whip at Gareth Pugh.
Great.
My name's Elliot. I'm a fashion stylist. I'm also creative director for my own brand, H by Harris, luxury luggage label, and I've been styling men's and women's collections for the past 15 years.
I'm Chris Sutton. I'm Marilyn Manson's fashion director, and I'm the creative director for a fashion label called Void, of course.
Great. Thank you very much indeed for coming, gentlemen. Let's start by looking and getting the feel of what Rick Owens is doing this season. When you feel that you want to start talking about it, please do. Let's stop there. What are we thinking of this? Carson, what are you thinking of that?
Well, the first thing that I noticed is the detail, of course, across the neck, which is kind of reminiscent of some pieces from last fall winter, but more kind of extreme perhaps, and also the kind of sense of being bound and protected is something that I think that Rick does quite frequently. And also, I mean, if you look at the gloves, there's also this kind of detail of eccentricity also, as well as this kind of more aggressive story. There's also a kind of more light-hearted element to it in the gloves and the detail.
I think it's completely eccentric though. I mean, he does that on his catwalk shows quite frequently.
Yeah.
It's kind of really, really extreme. But probably when you get into a showroom environment and you break it down, there are probably some really wearable pieces in there.
What do you actually think, Simon, is eccentric about that? Is it just the gloves?
The gloves, the shoulder detail. It's pretty hard to me to see how that has any other place other than on the catwalk.
So you wouldn't buy that?
I certainly wouldn't buy it, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong in any way.
No, but I just wonder why you wouldn't. Because
I think it's eccentric. I think it's difficult. I think it's hard to place where somebody would wear that unless you were completely submerged in Rick Owens' world. Even some of the guys here that I can tell just by looking at them have a real affinity with the brand would probably really struggle to wear that on a, unless they were going like, wow.
I think that there is an element of a look like this though that is down to styling and the way that it's styled.
Completely.
In the piece, like this piece for example, it looks like it has a wrap over, or it has perhaps something in the shoulder that comes down. But I think that with a lot of what Rick does, there's different ways to wear it.
Yeah.
So there can be there can be a more extreme wear. There can be something that's much more approachable, and something that's kind of communicates the same kind of feeling, but it's something you can wear in the street.
Of course, it's a catwalk show.
Yeah.
It needs to pop at you, and it needs to cause a bit of a stir. Otherwise, it's just going to be.
That's the thing that I find interesting, is that usually watching some of these shows, the pieces are quite classic and very accessible and retail friendly, and that's your expertise. And when it comes to things being wearable and accessible, I kind of switch off. Yeah. I'm not someone that buys a lot of very expensive fashion. I like individual things and having fun, and this is interesting to me because the context I would come in touch with it would be something like, say it was a music video or a tour where this kind of extreme performance.
Yeah.
Well, that actually is quite, I don't know, subtle for a performance.
I think it is a performance though.
That's it.
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Well, that's what a catwalk is.
I know, but it's also about the commercial viability of the brand.
Well, I want to bring Harris in here. is this actually an integral part of the garment, or is it sort of, if this were women's, you would think, oh, it's a stole that's tied at the back or something. Do you think it's actually part
I
of
think it's
I think
probably part.
Do you think it's a separate piece?
I think it's probably part of it.
Not a separate piece?
No, it's probably part of the,
Right.
But it's still in true keeping with the way that Rick does his collections, and as Chris is saying, I think any show needs to have showpieces, otherwise it becomes almost irrelevant in terms of the reason why you might even have a
We've
show.
only got to look at
So-
the Queen
Yeah.
shows to see what the
Yeah.
fantasy is all about, and
Well,
it's-
can I ask you another thing? How is it kept there? Where is it fastened?
probably the
I think
back.
it's a separate
tight.
piece. I think it has to be
I
because
think
do you see
it's
this?
just
I think it's a
There's a
separate
front
Maybe.
there's a front seam of that cut jacket.
which is then
Yeah.
cuts
Stop.
across
Yeah.
there.
It's wrapped around the back or something.
Or it would have to be zipped at the side or the back
Yeah.
or something. I think it is like a woman's stole,
Yeah.
wrong way round.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll see
But-
this worn a different way in
Yeah.
editorials. I think that's probably just an extreme way.
The thing is, it might just be not even a stole, but just a one piece which is just draped over the head and it just sits there. So
It could be that as
it
well.
may not
The
actually
one
be.
thing,
it's really
one
been
thing that
pulled
I
in on the
usually,
shoulders,
they
though.
usually, that usually happens with rickshaws is that they never really throw something on for the show. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's a piece that is to be sold as a piece.
So what you see is
the
what you
sty-
get.
yeah, the styling,
Yeah.
the styling is usually kind of very direct in whatever it is. I mean, obviously, if you look at like the women's wear, they've done things where it's like they've pulled it down the hips so that it's worn slightly in a strange way. But usually, what you see is what you get.
Oh,
So it's-
completely
yeah.
agree. I just think maybe it's just the way, in the sense that the way it has been styled and that.
There's- yeah,
but
yeah.
somebody else may not necessarily wear it
Yeah.
in that restrictive
what fabric?
way.
What fabric is that, Miser?
I
can't tell.
I think it's leather.
Is it leather?
It
I
looks
think it
like
looks like
leather,
a,
but-
It's got,
like
you
a
have that
napper.
natural stretch in it.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get
Yeah, I
it
would think it's leather.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's quite a statement piece, I would say.
A good one to start on.
Yeah.
Let's move on and see what the next look is about.
These gloves are distracting me. It looks like he's got his hand in a hamster. It looks like he's literally punched a hamster.
It's a very,
No, I
it's
keep
a
quite
very
like
high
Yeah.
waist, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It's really.
But I think that last fall winter show there was these really high waisted pants and it was kind of
Yeah.
like this 30s thing. It definitely was kind of very cinematic, or and I think that's something that comes from women's wear but works perfectly in a Rick.
Do you not think
show.
that this? I mean, we flicked through the pictures before, but this Rick collection looks a little bit more futuristic, though.
Compared
Yeah.
to the last two collections, definitely.
You know,
because
it's not as kind of warm and
Can you
floaty.
say a little more about futuristic? What do we mean by that?
Well, in terms of the silhouette of the jacket, in terms of the shininess of the fabric, in terms of the width of the belt,
Yeah.
it's all really kind of, I don't know, say channeling the spirit of maybe some pieces of Cardan in the 60s, in terms of like
Well,
really
yeah.
kind of that
Yeah.
60s notion of
Suits in
futurism,
comparison.
rather than kind of what we think of the future now, which is a little bit more subtle and extreme, an
Yeah.
extreme vision of what people in the 60s thought 2012 would be.
Sure.
And for the collection you're speaking about, the high-waisted trousers that
Yeah.
were dropped, that did have a nod to history, and the tailoring made it seem quite historical. This is quite smooth and functional. This looks like something
This-
futuristic because it looks like it's simple.
Well,
There's
this
a lot of tailoring.
jacket to me doesn't feel like a classic Rick piece.
No.
No.
And he always uses a lot of leather, which he's really well known for, and so the sheen
Yeah.
always comes through. But in terms of the width of the sleeves and the cut on the jacket, it doesn't.
It's not as slim as it
No.
usually
Yeah.
is, for sure. I mean, because especially more summer, I guess, but that leather that he uses in a classic bike or in
Yeah.
a cafe racer,
Yeah. It's not
a lot
just
different.
slim, he's very svelte.
Yeah.
And this looks very bunched around. I don't like this broad belt at all. I just don't think it adds anything to the look.
A pinched waist and good shoulders are something that I love in
Yeah.
clothes and well-made clothes.
And
And
that's
this has
enough.
been taken from it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's enough.
Yes. Okay, let's see another.
This is like Mugler of autumn winter last year, doesn't it?
Oh dear.
Is that the same coat, but in white?
I think it's a little
A
shorter.
version of.
Well,
Yeah.
it's got another highish belt, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Wide belt.
I think the belts actually work with the coats, but the one thing with Rick's collections, you need to be a certain kind of figure and you've got a certain aesthetic, because it's not everyone can carry that
No.
coat off. So that
No,
even
no.
though they will scale things up. It's just kind of, that kind of belt's only going to work on a really skinny guy.
Do we have any
Tall
comments on
guy.
white? There's a lot.
Skinny tall guy.
Yes.
Trust me, I'd look like I was that.
Yeah, like my waist somewhere here.
There'd be about this much left of me.
What do we feel about the white? Are we excited about the white?
It's optic white though, it's not just white, is it? It's like,
It's rebellious for him.
It's almost like a Stone Island
Yes.
type.
well, it is. We were having a conversation before that I bet, I'm predicting it's going to be black on black, and what happens? Like
A lot of white. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's good. I think it's nice for winter as well. Do you know what I mean? There's something about it that is startling and kind of very clean.
Snow
And
Queen.
Yeah, but it demands a sense of. It demands like it's not every day. Do you know what I mean? Like it's white. If you're going to wear a white coat, it's danger. So it's
I
kind
think
of.
white's very glamorous.
Yeah, yeah, especially for men.
For
Especially
men, yes.
And especially for Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially for him. Another one? More white? That seems a very accessible look.
It
Seems
is,
to
yeah.
me. Now I would have thought, Simon, that this is something you could sell.
You could in black.
But he's very light. I mean, the two collections I was looking at before this, he's got a sense of like all that angst and darkness is lifted a bit.
But it's
Do you know
still
what
got
I
that
mean?
Yes.
sense of futurism there. It's still
It
got
is.
that extreme collar, and it's still
yeah,
quite.
yeah.
It almost hangs asymmetrically. I know it isn't.
No, I think
Just
it's
the way
that
that the way it's walking
yeah,
and
the
it's cut.
split second.
But yeah, it's very commercial for Rick for sure. And what fabric was that? Sorry, do we know?
I don't know, let's go back. What do you think? I don't think it's wool or anything like that, is it? Is it?
I think it's probably a waxed fabric or something.
Because sometimes
Maybe,
it does that
yeah.
really
Yeah.
heavy
Heavy.
felted wool in the jacket.
Yeah.
It's really kind of.
I think
rough.
you'd be able to see that because it absorbs so
Yeah.
much light, but I
No,
think
no, it
it's
isn't, you're
definitely
right.
shiny.
Why did you say if we were in black? Do you really think that men are resistant to something like white?
Yeah, absolutely. We live in such a conservative world, really, outside our little bubble that is
Sure,
the
fashion-
industry that we
fashion
work in.
planet, yeah.
And however directional you think you are, you're not really until you see someone like Rick.
Yeah.
And it's as a buyer, it's really hard to balance what you think is amazing and creative and beautiful with actually making money
Yeah.
from customers, which essentially is why my part of the industry is there. So it's a really fine balancing act, and one of the difficult things is that when you go to a showroom and buy Rick, is that you don't strip it of the essence of what it is. So it'd be very easy to go there and just buy the knitwear, buy the t-shirts, buy a really simple leather jacket, but then you miss the whole point of it.
Exactly. You lose the statement.
You lose the statement, you
Yes.
lose the world of Rick Owens,
Yes.
and then essentially what's the point in buying it? You might as well go
Yeah.
out and buy another brand that
If
fits
we
in with your
think,
style.
Harris, somewhere like, say, Selfridges,
Yeah.
Mm.
would you imagine Selfridges buyers getting all excited and thinking we can sell that?
No, it would be more LNCC.
You really feel it's
I-
not accessible to Joe Public?
I think that. Go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah. Harris, what do you feel?
I think it could be. I think the danger often is with a lot of buyers, and not to discredit what you do, is that the buyer's responsibility is also to educate the public as well. And I think obviously you couldn't buy pieces like this en masse, so it might be that you would only buy 2 or 3 pieces because you'll have a window piece and you'll have your devotees that would buy into it. But I think if we only promote like black or greys or navies the whole time, there's never going to be that opportunity for that individual who's starting to express himself, who would otherwise be conservative, to
It's
actually
kind of
start. It's a really fine
It's a
line.
really fine line.
It's
and
not.
I completely agree with you. It's much easier to do though in a boutique environment when
True.
you're there and you're with the customer one on one, and you're
You have a
saying, but
relationship.
this is kind of. Whereas in somewhere like a department store like Selfridges, it's kind of. I mean, you could turn around and not see somebody for the whole time you're there, and you're left to your own devices.
So you
And
can't
then-
really develop those
You can't,
relationships
no,
with
no,
those
no,
kind of.
no.
Well, the thing that excites me about it is, there might be one of these coats in Selfridges, but the thing about white coats, it says one thing, which is only a certain type of person can have it. It's really luxurious. To keep a coat that white
that's
looking good,
practical.
you have to have a certain lifestyle, because you're not going to be wearing that in the tube with,
Quite. It's really like women's, the pale mint coats and the beautiful beiges and
Liz
creams
Taylor.
and everything.
Bam.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're all about glamour.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that many men really want glamour.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
nice having a certain amount of glamour in menswear.
Oh,
isn't
I
it?
agree.
I mean,
I enjoy
it's kind of so.
Well,
With the whole heritage thing that's happening now, I mean, I've subscribed to it in part because I like vintage clothing, but what's missing out of it is that whole kind of dressing up and feeling like $1 million.
Yeah.
Where did that go?
It came and went, really. I guess Tom Ford brought it in.
Yeah.
And his clothes were highly glamorous, but also slightly unreal, because who lives that sort of
Well, it was an
life?
extreme version of, again, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was a big lapel, really nipped in waist.
So we're thinking at this point that we won't see this next winter in Topshop.
I don't. Well, not
Version-
Topshop.
I bet you will. Maybe.
A version of, definitely.
I
It
think we might.
wouldn't surprise me because that would be one of their loss leaders almost. It would be like their statement bit that the press
Yes,
will get
to
hold
get
of,
people in
and it will get in, and then they'll sell 150, whatever it is that they sell. I mean, I'm not really sure.
God knows.
Lots.
Lots. Let's say lots. Yeah.
That's it.
Another picture, please. More white.
More
Now, I
white.
want someone to deconstruct this for us and tell us what it's about. Do you want to have a go at that, Carson?
I'm going to sound like a broken record.
Well, I mean, I only have experience from I have a lot of friends, close friends who work in the rec store in London, and I know that a piece like this could be hugely successful because it has all of the kind of rec characteristics, but it's not terrifying, and it is completely wearable because that collar for the show is, it has been styled to look that way. But in normal life, you can have that as a drape collar. It's something that I would wear. Not necessarily.
Actually, if I were
white.
young, it's something I would.
Yeah.
How would that come down?
So basically, it just falls to one side, and you have
And it rolls over as
like an
well.
asymmetrical
Yes.
opening.
Yes.
It's like super simple. I might not wear it in white, but I would wear it. It's something I would wear.
Would you wear it in dark shadow?
Would you have styled it that way? Would you have-
Voila.
I think you have to style it that way, because if the collar was left down, then you wouldn't see the extremity of the design and of the cut of the piece. So, yeah, if that was just left draped down, it could just look like another just draped piece.
rather boring, yes.
But for the silhouette,
Yes.
you need to be able to see that angle. That's
From a stylist perspective, like who, just so I can place it, who would you put in that, and under what circumstance?
You mean a real individual or a type?
Yeah, no, like a client.
for me.
Come on, boys.
The spotlight's blinding me right now.
Sorry.
My personal opinion, and I know, you know what, I would probably wear that in black myself, but I might feel like a bit of a wanker.
Depending on where you are.
That's what I'm saying. Is it looks, for me, it's a little bit like I would put a client in it. It's quite fresh. It's quite sexy and young. I mean, I would put like a very handsome surfer in it or something. I don't know. It's to me, it's not edgy. I mean, I wouldn't take a personality into it.
That's the thing about
Right,
this
I get
piece.
you. You know what I
This
mean?
is the most instantly accessible kind of rec piece. Therefore, people who actually really like what he does probably wouldn't buy this.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I think it's
Yeah.
terrific.
I think it's a piece like this is the first entry towards what he does, like the real like,
Essence of-
meat
It's
Yeah.
quite
points
funny you
about
say
that.
that because to me it would be that really fine T-shirt in dark shadow. That's
I mean for
or it
like a
would
leather
be
part
the-
or like a piece
right.
rather than like a
Okay.
layering piece, but definitely
yeah,
like for a piece, this I think would be the first start. But yeah, I know what you mean about that kind of the jerseys. and
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let's move on and see what he does with that.
See, I think that's really chic.
It is. It's almost like YSL would do that.
It is. That's
It is.
exactly it.
That's what I would expect from the YSL men's line that's going to come up.
The
Yeah,
neckline is beautiful.
That's the first piece that I actually really understand and get a sense of like, right, I get it. I know
Right.
how I can sell this, how I'd style
Yeah.
it with other product in the store.
The sleeves seem very wide.
Wide. All of this. Well, most
All
of the
the sleeves have
sleeves
been
so
wide.
far have been quite wide.
Or are their arms really skinny?
Could be that. He doesn't look as if he's going to be terribly skinny though. So we all like this, or reservations anywhere?
It's very not.
It
It doesn't jump out at me.
No, it's not very polarised.
No.
I mean, what can you say about a nice
Well,
coat?
actually true. It's
Just a
straightforward.
beautiful,
Yeah.
it's a straightforward,
Standard,
beautiful quote.
Beautiful
Coat.
coat.
The one thing
Yeah.
I like about it is the layering at the bottom.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
but other than that, it doesn't jump out at me.
No.
It's nice to
Alright.
see the boots in contrast though, so you can see what's actually happening with
It's
the
always a
laces.
nice
and
colour
the-
combination, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? That kind of fawn cream.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a lovely
And
colour
white.
combination there, which again is
It's very chic.
an exercise in glamour.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I don't think they're meant to be glamorous, but those sort of beiges and
the
blonde
palettes.
colours with white always look fabulous. Think of Grace Kelly.
You probably
Yeah.
It's amazing how we moved on from those boots to Grace Kelly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just okay. I'll keep my mouth.
There is something in it. There's definitely something in it.
Good. Thank you very much.
I mean, a lot of these lighter colours, as Chris was saying, they're not particularly practical for day-to-day urban living, but I mean, the shapes of that I think are really strong. I think, yeah.
And that's just like a huge
Yeah.
hood, isn't it?
That's a really strong statement,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
And
And
that
it's very masculine as well, I think.
I think that you could see a women's version of that quite easily as well. You just, yeah.
I think it's the asymmetrical that is cut like that. I mean, it's going to have a very sort of pinched waist. The big belt kind of confuses me a little bit, but that's my personal
Yeah.
Do you
tendency.
mean
is
you
to
wouldn't put a belt on it?
Well, I would like to see it more tailored in that area without a need for a belt.
What would it look like without the belt, though? It would be quite...
Well,
It would be a
you
parka.
lose the
Parka.
nice sort of line going that way and then that way, which I think's very attractive. Of course, you'd have a button or something, you know, or a zip or whatever.
But then you could see someone who wasn't necessarily a Rick fan and wanted to be introduced to the brand. That's the kind of thing that I feel could introduce somebody to a brand
Yeah.
like Rick, because it ticks both boxes
Yeah.
of being Rick, but also being accessible.
I think the
Yes.
nice thing about it is there's no bells and whistles, and that's something that he's very good at. Like he'll take it, he'll always take it back, like, you know, back like 20%, back like 30%, rather than push it and try and gild the lily. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you see here. There's nothing. It is what it is, and it's like it's kind of. I think that's his real skill, is to make the simplicity. Do you know what I
I
mean?
think it's about pure,
Yeah.
It is.
isn't it? It's about pure.
But it's also
But
the way
in
he
essence-
cuts things, though. It's,
Yeah.
really,
Yes.
it's really difficult
Yes.
to do that.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
the easiest thing in the
Yes.
world
Say
because
more
you're
about
totally
that. Yeah.
exposed. You've got nowhere to hide, have you?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yeah.
Chris says it's about an essence.
It's
Say
like
a little more.
Yeah, it's like within the shows. You know, you have your extreme moments that we saw. That's like a punch in the face,
Yeah.
and we really like that.
Yeah.
And then you get this little nuances of the class, the glamour, the simplicity, and his opportunities to put those forward. I mean, you only have so many pieces. I mean, speaking of someone that's done collections, you try and tick your own boxes, and he's trying to do something that is, you know, forward thinking, but he's had the intelligence and the class to pull it back and not show off.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good.
It's intelligence in the class, but it's also confidence, isn't it?
But
Yeah,
I
he's
think
been doing it a
the-
very long time.
Assurance.
Exactly, and that's
about-
something important. Like his age, the fact that he no longer really seems to have anything to prove. He just has a very
Exactly.
clear
I-
point of view,
I agree.
and I think that comes from maturing as a designer later than like this kind of production line mentality that people
And it
have
always
now.
comes from a little bit of success as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you know, like you said, he's got
Exactly.
nothing to prove at all.
Yeah.
All he's doing is he's fine tuning, and like, you know, he's developed his look. That's it. He's developed his role. It's all about, you know, how can I make this better? And then that's incredible. What a lovely position to be in.
Not
Yes,
to have
sure.
to keep reinventing the wheel each
Yeah,
season,
yeah,
but
exactly.
just making it stronger.
What's the point? Leave that to some young upstart and let them
Yeah.
get on with
Well,
it.
yes, absolutely. I mean, in a sense, I mean, this may seem a silly comparison, but in a sense, after a certain point very early in his career, Picasso did the same painting
And of course, yeah.
all the time, but he was refining it and finding nuances, as you say, within it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a good designer does. I get so unhappy, and I've said this several times, about designers who feel that they have to do something totally new each season.
Yeah.
It's confusing for one.
Yeah.
Well, how do you build up your devotees, the people who believe in you? You know, I'm reminded of, and again, I've quoted this once before on these talks. I'm reminded of Balenciaga. He was asked by a rather crass American journalist what were his new ideas for the next season.
Name?
And of course,
The journalist?
no comment. He loathed journalists, I might say. And he said, "Madam, I have no new ideas. And what he means is he's got a basic
Yeah.
philosophy of clothes. Now, I think Rick Owens undoubtedly has a philosophy of clothes. Do
I
you
think
agree?
it's true.
Absolutely, and I think we touched upon that before when the camera was off. That
Tell them.
it's really. I think one of the art of a great designer is that it's very difficult for somebody that's not completely into them to actually place the year of their collection. There might be these subtle changes with the shoulder or what have you. Ray Kawakubo has it, Rick has it, all these people have it. And like we said, it's about developing the essence and making it better. And
It's the sign of a maestro, isn't it, really?
I think so.
You know, a great conductor
I think
doesn't conduct Beethoven differently every time.
but I think it's about having the right people around you and having the right people.
God, yeah.
Because otherwise, what you said about the press asking Balenciaga, it's like there's a lot of pressure from the press to have something new every season.
Sure.
There's a lot of pressure from business to have something new every season that's going to sell more. Whereas with what Rick has, and I think with a lot of designers who are uncompromising, they have people around them who are also uncompromising and who will defend them to the hilt. And that is, I think that's such a hugely important thing that no one ever talks about for the design community. Do you know what I mean? To have those people who will defend your ideology.
Success is key to that.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Because it's a business and it has to function, and because it's functioning, then that gives him the freedom to do that, especially if you've got backers, and we all know who these people are. Because at the end of the day, if you do have those people that you need to answer to, unfortunately there's a balance sheet, and nobody wants to hear about that.
No, but that is, of course,
absolutely.
literally the bottom line.
It is the bottom line.
No one can run away from that,
You can't
particularly
argue.
not now.
And I think that's one of the problems with the industry in this country, is that there's nobody to back up those small designers really, and just really to take them and nurture them and keep them here. Develop them here.
I agree with that.
Well, yes and no. I think there would be people if we had really exceptional designers. But I'm looking all the time for another Hussein Chalayan, another Lee McQueen, another John Galliano, and another Vivienne Westwood. I mean, she is the earth mother of modern British fashion, in my opinion. No question.
No question.
They made no money, they were laughed at, and everything, but they kept on because they had a vision.
Yeah.
I see no vision in London fashion, and what are you going to say?
No, that was what I was going to say about a lot of designers do not have an understanding and having a vision for longevity. So they have ideas and they want to evolve and change things every season. But if you've got a pure aesthetic kind of vision, whether it is Ray Kawakubo, whether it is Rick, or whether it is Vivienne Westwood, they've got a certain way that they think and a certain way that they approach design. So therefore, Vivienne Westwood's, a lot of the shapes are the same, or not the same, but very similar season after season. Similar with Rick, and it's like a clear, I've got an idea of the kind of man and woman that I wanted to dress, and that's what it's not about reinventing the wheel, because I already understand what
It's
it is
also
that I
not
want to
about
create.
what other people are doing.
No.
It's about
It's
what they're
regardless.
doing.
Yes.
Who cares what?
So even if you're out for 2 or 3 seasons or 3 or 4 years, they still stick to their guns because that's what they're doing.
It's about mining your own creativity and what you've done. And this is why I think this band's so amazing. You're quiet, Chris. What do you
Because
say?
I'm thinking, because I'm
Good. Like that?
for the simple reason that I'm learning something, because I am a fashion designer and I
Indeed.
do have a label and I do have a clear aesthetic, but I have went radically different for 2 seasons. And you're saying that mine an aesthetic and keep to it. But I felt like if you can create things, you can create your own universe and your own world. So I felt like, why hold yourself back for 1 season? Why not create the fantasy that you need to create, get out of your system, you can return to the essence of you, create somewhere you can go to any corner of the earth and create anything you
I
want.
think that's such an incredibly important thing to remember, because there is having your own aesthetic, but also Gareth told me about a conversation he had with Alex Box, and he had wanted to do something 1 season and had been speaking aloud to her and said, I can't do that, it's not very me. And Alex said to him, she was like, you have to just pursue whatever it is that interests you at the time, because no matter what your aesthetic is, it has to develop and it has to evolve. And that's what I mean. I don't mean business people when I say you have to have the right people around you. I mean your actual community, and you actually have people who invest their time and their faith in what you do. So it's not so much about business to begin with. I think the business has to come after, it has to. But to begin with, for example, Rick he has Michelle Lamy, who is just an extraordinary person, and they've been together from the beginning, and I think that in what they have, they can protect each other from the business, from the media, from all those things, and that's the important people you have to around. So not necessarily business, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When Rick first started showing in Paris a very long time ago now, really, he was very selective with who he allowed into the show, you know, which of course made everyone want to be in the show.
Yeah.
Luckily, when I was with Sunday Times, we got in. We were given a tick, but there were an awful lot of people who weren't.
Yeah.
And I think he didn't do it just to be perverse. I think he thought, well, who is going to actually be able to understand me? Maybe not immediately, but will grow with me. And I think that's very important with the design. I don't think
it is.
People grow with you.
Yeah, because you don't want everybody there.
Cutthroat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really
Well, I include buyers as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
And you can't consider everybody.
I'm nice.
And stylists.
You can't consider everybody in one go, otherwise you'll get confused.
Yes.
It's like,
That's true.
you know, the pure essence should be the impulse. And if you follow the impulse through and you fuck it up, be honest about it. Just go, right, you know, that didn't really work. But you know, you're never going to just soup it
It's so hard to have that complete self-belief if there are others around you, and especially people and buyers and stylists are just completely ignoring you. You know, how do you have the strength to carry on and the money?
To be able to do it again.
You know, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Really difficult.
No, I'd agree, it's very hard if you haven't got the support of the press. So certain brands that, whether the likes of, whether it's Gareth or other brands, and like say the likes of Rick, if you get press endorsement early on, that's fantastic. Not that press endorsement necessarily leads to kind of necessarily really good business, but there are other obviously brilliant young geniuses who are creating amazing pieces, but if they're not with the right PR, or if they don't know the right people necessarily, and it does need all of the elements to kind of, or at least a lot of the elements to link in order for that train to start running, it's kind of really hard to...
That's really true, because you're mixing a really complicated cocktail, if you think about it, bringing in the different needs.
And they all have different agendas.
Yeah.
And the agendas,
you know.
exactly that. Yes.
You know.
Let's have a look at a little more.
I'm not sure about the hair.
It's a bit feminine.
I had
say
that
it's
hair
very
like an hour
women's
ago.
wear,
Swear to God.
You are?
I had that hair this morning.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Is it a bit sort of a little feminine? It looks a bit like a smock almost.
It is a smock.
Is it a smock?
But then
No, it's buttoned down. It's open down the front, so it's a coat of some sort.
Sorry to keep asking this, but what fabric is that?
it looks quite sheer and light, doesn't it though?
I think it's leather.
I think it's
It is
leather.
I think
like
it's
really
leather.
leather?
Yeah.
The way that
it's
it's
been almost like worn
It must
and
be
washed and
beautiful
around.
quality.
Yeah.
If it is leather, it will be.
It'll be
in the
fabulous.
flesh, it'd be look amazing.
Yeah.
Not sure whether it.
See, I'm not morally against this.
I'd
know what?
I'd
I like
wear
the
that
rock and roll
like
thing.
done.
I want to wear that and have a shot of Jack
Yeah.
Daniels and dance
Yeah.
for 20 minutes. I'd be really sexy.
20 minutes?
I want to get down and sexy in that. It's fun. My favourite thing was the last Raft collection for Jill Sander, where it was like that American Psycho serial killer leather gloves in the trench coat, and I was talking to Alex Fury about that, and we love that. I mean, if I could have that whole collection and wear that every day, I mean, that's what I would do.
Happy.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone else want to make any comments about that?
I second that motion. Done and done.
All right. Okay.
Does it come in white?
Probably. This is Liz Taylor again, isn't it?
I think this is far.
Yeah.
I can't see.
We can see.
Yeah, I think
Is that?
It
is fur.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's like a midnight blue black, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's probably just black
Beautiful.
in reality.
Is that Grace Coddington?
Yes. It's the smock sort of idea again, isn't it really?
He's always used those little army influences
Yes.
anyway, hasn't he?
Yes.
Like that military
worker
influence.
as
Yeah,
well,
yeah. You know, but he's just twisted them beyond what.
That to me looks very easy and very
But
relaxed.
that I think that is mink. I think that's the backside of mink. I'm almost,
right.
I'm almost
Right.
just from the way that it's
Well,
sewn.
the cuff is.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that it's mink, which is kind of which makes such a easy shape into this crazy piece. You know what I mean, that is an easy shape, but it's like to be mink.
Speaking with two tongues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I didn't realise that. Well, that's very dark. Is that another
That
fur?
looks like fur,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But this is where all the luxury is coming in with
Yeah.
the leather and
Yes.
the fur, and he does that better than anyone really.
I think especially in the show environment, as soon as the fur comes out, it electrifies the audience. I mean, because it just raises the stakes so much.
Yeah. What do we feel about men and fur? They don't really take to it very much, do they?
Well, it depends. I mean, in a Rick kind of style like this, more guys could get away with it, but in traditional fur just doesn't usually lend itself to your average guy, or even non-average.
I am seeing a lot more eccentric people walking around in that kind of like 1920s, 30 long, kind of double-breasted.
But that's in like
vintage fur.
The raccoon coat.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, coming from Newport Gwent where I am, you get the shit kicked at you, but. Yeah, absolutely in our environment.
It sort of diffuses a silhouette, which is difficult for me to want to wear. This looks nice. I can see a nice shape and it looks slender and well made, but in the past, fur just means bulk.
But isn't that again the impact of and the spectacle of a fashion show? That's what happens here. The fur's there. It's also a little bit subversive because not everyone loves fur, so he's including it in there. And it's.
So, do you think these will be bought?
Do
you think they'll go into production?
Yeah, I think there's a market across the world for fur, isn't there? Especially in
Russia, I suppose.
Absolutely, and I think apart from the bling in Russia, as in style-wise, you do get this kind of really dark kind of vision of what fashion is, and I think that lends itself quite well to that sort of market.
Yeah, I mean, here we are in London, where there's still a huge resistance to fur, but I don't think that's necessarily the case.
No,
in other places.
Absolutely.
But I think go as far as Paris, and I think that'll
it
definitely be in Paris. Yeah. And Italy also.
Italy as well. They're great consumers.
Yes.
The thing about the fur being in the show is that I think there's an importance to it because it is this artisan quality. That because they have the fur studio is in their home. And it's so much care and attention goes into it, and I think without that, you might have a lot of clothes that are made in a kind of very clinical factory way, but with the fur, it just there's such a attachment to it emotionally for them to have it in the show is just it would have to be there.
But also they've got the customer for it as well, so maybe fur doesn't work so well here. And whatever people's opinions are, Rick's got his loyal, devoted fans that will spend the multi-thousands on those kind of pieces.
How much would that be? Anyone know?
God, a lot of money.
Maybe 60.
Price of a small car?
House,
Price of a small house.
More likely.
Or price of a big car. Yeah.
I can't really see the shape of it.
No, there's nothing to be gained from that really because it's just not enough detail. Could we go to the next one?
Okay, so we've got a thinner belt there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the same high waist.
Same height.
Yeah.
Yes.
But could you tie it lower? It's not, there are no belt loops there or anything to.
Well, you could. I mean, even if there are little tabs, you just take it off and tie it where you like, really, I suppose.
Direct action.
Exactly.
It feels more.
This is my
more kimono-like, this one.
It is quite kimono-like, isn't it?
But still futuristic a little bit too, though.
Yeah.
Do you see where the front of it has sort of rolled over as he's walking? Makes me think there are very, very... Men's clothes are nearly always straight lines and angles. It's very rare that you see a coat which curves at the bottom. I don't mean I don't mean a jacket. I mean a coat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Why is that? Do you
Good.
think?
I don't know. I was hoping you might tell me.
Is it not like a more masculine linear
Is it
thing?
because
Like,
it's just not a masculine line?
well, designing things, we always look at the shape. You know what I mean? Everything has to point at central. Some things don't really work on a male frame. You know, unless you're going for a more androgynous statement. You know, straight lines, strength.
Is that not curved thing quite feminine as well?
It
though?
seems
It's
so,
softer,
yeah.
almost,
Yeah.
by its very nature, it's softer,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, it sort of makes you think of tulips and flowers.
There's a reason for it. It wouldn't
Yeah.
just
Yes.
happen. If you're going to do it, you're doing it with intention, and that's probably
Sure.
what he's going for.
Absolutely. Okay.
Is that like a wool mix with leather?
Yeah,
It looks
That's
like
kind of cool. I like that.
I like
Yeah,
this.
it is nice.
My
and
favourite piece of
that's very Rick though, isn't
Yeah.
it? That
Yeah.
kind of mix of wool and leather as
Yeah.
well.
It's young. It seems like it's more. That's the sort of thing I would like.
Yeah. Second that motion.
If
But that's,
it's
I think that's actually quite commercial as well for this sort of piece.
Yeah.
Well, it is. You know, it's kind of. I think we all like it. So,
It's
and,
the- yeah.
and we've all got completely different styles and viewpoints.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very interesting. I like it very much. That's the belt, sort of dangling there between his legs or
Yeah.
behind him or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Just one. I just wondered.
This seems like it would only work on some body types.
I was going to say that last piece, I do think it was commercial, but the waist was still really high and it looked like it was kind of part of the piece. So
Could you not, really, you don't think you could have
I think,
tied it
yeah,
down a
because I
little
think
bit?
it was like the where it finishes.
Oh, where the
Yeah,
wool
I think it's
finishes and then
Yes.
it splits you
Yeah.
kind of
But
quite
I
high.
still think that is like something that's quite approachable.
But also with some, like one of Rick's collections, because you're meant to be wearing it with other pieces layered
Yeah.
underneath anyway,
Yeah.
so even if it is cropped, it's there to be layered with,
Yeah.
Sure.
with the rest of the collection.
Yeah.
So
There's not that much layering going on here, really,
No.
is there? It's all about the outerwear.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because it's winter or what,
Yeah.
but usually it does have a few statement kind of heavy knits as
Yeah.
well that we've
Yeah.
not seen yet.
Maybe they're to come.
Maybe.
can't see.
So difficult.
Well, indifferent.
Yeah. Nice hat. Now, somebody tell me about this.
Well, he's after punching the hamster. He's definitely. He's just killed the sheep and stepped into it.
It's back to more luxury again. It's
It
the
is.
kimono, but it's pure it's opulence and luxury. But
Is that not really, really feminine, regardless
Yeah,
of whether it's
it is.
physical?
Yeah.
Very
It
feminine.
It
is.
looks like a miniskirt.
Exactly, it's got that kind of dress like, I mean, it does do that sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
But
I'm trying to see, I think, is it shieling?
it's shieling on the bottom, isn't it?
Shieling.
Is that
like
shieling on the
shaved?
top?
I don't
Shaved
know.
on the top.
I like this
Are the
though. I like
sleeves knitted or
the.
what are they, do you think?
No, I think they're.
Is that the leather of the shieling?
Leather, do you think? Or suede? I don't know.
It's potluck. I like I do like the line though on the shoulder in that last piece.
Yes.
That kind of like the square front, even though it's got that crossover collar. I like that.
well, it feels a bit more involved than, whereas a lot of his pieces will just drape and just almost one piece, no matter what detailing it, you could just. It's almost like it's been moulded around you, whereas
Yeah.
these kind of look like a slight departure from what you know and
Just a
love
little bit
about.
more cut, a little bit more
Yeah.
patterned,
Yeah.
as in cutting, not rather than patterned.
What do people think of the boots? Not mentioned any of the boots.
I don't know. It's like
Just what he does, isn't it?
Usually
Yeah.
like
1990 sand boots. No,
hey, done.
well done it.
It's hard to get a true look at what they are from front on.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't really see the sole or the side.
Is it zipped all the way down? Is that, or is it a hidden fastening, or what is it?
You
Zip.
mean
Zip
you mean
down
the
right.
jacket?
Zip, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, zip all the way down.
I like that very much.
Yeah.
Do you? I know
That's
think it's
quite-
quite
I
com- I
thought
think
that
that's-
was
That's
so
quite
very well.
yeah, it's really easy.
That's a commercial.
I think that's
Absolutely.
really
I
commercial.
mean, out of everything that we've seen, I think it's really if I was buying Rick, I would have bought that in a couple of colours.
Those hoods sit very well like that
Yeah,
kind
they
of where it's
do.
placed.
Yeah.
It's really sort of flattering. It's nice.
But it's understandable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it is. Again, it's really difficult trying to talk about a Rick Owens collection and diluting it to such an extent that you say, well, it's really understandable because you're going back to the point of not educating the customer and it kind of makes you feel a little bit uneasy as a buyer that you're actually kind of diluting somebody's creativity to the point
Into
of
actually, I
what
know
it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I know who I can call because
Yeah.
10 people will walk in and they'll buy
Yeah,
that
yeah.
particular piece. But
Yeah. But yeah, it is really commercial. I think.
And that's the same thing in black, virtually, isn't it?
Yeah, but that.
But
Is that the hood?
that's leather, presumably, yes.
yeah,
And again, still very commercial. Very
Oh,
commercial. It's more commercial than the white.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the jeans, the boots,
Yes.
kind of.
And
It's good look.
it seems
yes.
quite long for a jacket. It's almost tunicky. I mean, it could go longer, I think.
Yeah, I
Well, I
quite
think
like it.
if
That it's
Yeah,
over
that's
the
nice.
back.
Yes.
I mean, that's really Rick. Oh, there's the bondage thing again.
black and white.
But I'm like,
See, I think that's a separate piece.
I would.
Do
I,
you?
I would bet my
What-
salary it's the same.
I do now that I've seen
A
it.
separate piece or not?
I'm,
Absolutely not.
I've
No.
got 2 kids. I'm skint. I can't bet you.
It's quite feminine, isn't it? That sort of
Yeah.
draping across the shoulders and the chest.
I've just bet my salary. I just
Okay.
lied.
I didn't take you up on
Yeah.
that. No, I didn't take you up on that. It's fine. I'm not, I didn't have enough confidence.
Another?
I mean, that's just his classic little bomber,
Yeah.
isn't it? Again, it's all day long.
Yeah.
I think we probably all wear that, which is quite an achievement for him.
It's very straightforward.
It's very straightforward, absolutely.
And that's fine. And that's the end.
that's them all standing against the black background.
Yeah.
So, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I think it was a little bit of departure from what he usually does. It certainly had the essence that he's got there. I should imagine Rick fans will be happy.
Do you think you'll get new fans?
I kind of think in terms of him expanding his business at the moment, he's probably in that area where he's not bang on trend. But I think he's enough of a global entity to actually suck that up and carry on
We
going.
have a whole
We're
bunch.
not actually finished. There's like
Oh, yeah.
25 pictures there.
Oh, we've still got
Yeah.
more.
I was going to say, like, whoa.
Before you get really profound, like there's a lot there.
I was wrapping up there.
sorry about that.
I'm never going to be able to remember that again.
Okay.
This is cool, you know? It's like Butcher Kid, you know?
I love the gloves.
I'm a big fan of the gloves all the way through, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see them in the black as opposed to just the beige.
Yeah.
It looks completely different
In black,
fabric.
in
yeah.
black,
Yeah.
doesn't
It
it?
does.
I don't know what that fabric
It looks
is,
way
but it
more
looks
glamorous.
amazing.
It does.
Is that moleskin or something, or pony skin?
It's
or
more like a velvet or a pony.
Or
It's just
is it
because it's got the
Where,
sheen.
on the
mesh,
front?
or what do you
Do
do?
a
the,
velvet.
What do you think
with
it
it.
is?
I think it looks like it looks like a velvet.
Yeah.
But
Velvet.
but
It
you
could
just-
be. It could be mink. It could be shaved
But
mink.
there's a lot of velvet coming out at the moment. I've seen that and it's a bit odd.
He does
Scary.
velvet. Wow.
It's not. You don't expect velvet and Rick Owens, so
I
I'm
wouldn't
just
want it
not.
to be
Yeah.
velvet. I'm hoping it's not, but it looks like it.
Can we go back a moment? I want to ask probably you, Chris, or Carson, the technical thing. If it's shaved mink, how has he managed to do the straps and make them look so
So clean.
thin? Yes, and clean.
Well, they literally do shave the fur.
Yes, but I mean, it's still sort of rounded, isn't it, you know?
it would be
think
patchwork.
there's a
I don't
yoke
know.
in
I
there
mean,
that-
I don't know if that. I'm not sure. I don't know what that is. It's so hard to tell from the.
You can get a clean edge by laser cutting.
I suppose.
True.
I think Jill used it a lot on bits when it's really clean. There's nothing there. It's almost like a technical sportswear thing that you do
Okay, right.
to actually get it really fine. But I'm not sure whether you can actually apply that to mink or not.
I don't know.
And the layers are there. It's nice. It's simple. But I mean, it's not rocking the world.
No, but it's easily understood.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that a strange patch or a reflection?
I think it's probably
Some
Reflection.
Yeah.
This is cool.
I love a bit of shooting. I think that looks brilliant. I mean,
That'll-
that's really elegant and luxurious and
Yes.
expensive, and
Yes.
Rick Owens all in one foul swoop. And whether you like the style or not, you can't deny that it's a beautiful piece.
But what's nice, it's been done in a Rick way as opposed to because we've just seen.
Yeah. Imagine putting that hood up.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
That changed.
That's a little bit of a leap.
So,
Okay, he's gone all.
What kind of fabric is it? Or is it? Because it's not just a print,
No.
is it?
any idea?
I can't even see it. It's blurred. It looks like a print. It can't be a texture. I mean, that's too bold. It's a printed drop pan.
It could be a print, or it could be sort of Miyake pleats
Yeah.
done horizontally.
That would be beautiful.
You know, that would be simply
I
lovely.
mean, I've not seen his
Yes.
collections in the last 2 seasons. Has he just because he never used to do anything like that?
No.
It could also be net, like some
Net?
kind of
Ah.
net, like some kind
Yes.
of. I think
Yes.
so. I don't know. It's so hard to tell, but
But it's interesting.
yeah.
And I think it's rather attractive, personally.
Definitely.
I think it might be a print, though, don't you?
Maybe.
That's Missoni.
And it is.
Top, isn't it?
Excuse me.
I meant the pattern.
Okay,
at the top. That would see Missoni's global sales like considerably.
I think I think that works.
Yeah, that's a nicer interpretation of whatever
Yeah.
that is. That fabric.
That's really elegant.
But that's because it's got the pinched waist, it's got the shoulders,
Yes.
and it's really chic.
And it's still paired with his trousers, which make it look really striking.
That's almost got a 19th century Beau Brummel sort of cut
Yeah.
to it. It's lovely, I think.
That was just a brief interlude then, and then we're back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite wasted, isn't it?
The silhouette's good, but can't really see what the details are.
No. Interesting silhouette, though.
It's like the kimono taken and pushed more to a jacket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Don't say anything there. Ah.
And there he is.
In his classic leather jacket. I mean, when you see him, you see his brand, don't you?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yes.
And you know, you really, really do. And I think that's the ambassador is him, which is a fantastic
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Do we know the name of the collection?
No.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is, I think what you just said is really, really important because it's kind of those clothes are very lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? And he lives it. It's. I think there's a kind of there's a distinction between designers who put on shows as a performance or as to communicate a ideology, and then there's people who have a show and it's just an extension of the way they live. And I think both are equally as valid.
Oh yes.
But I think that for them it's definitely, I think perhaps that kind of informs why the clothes are so well fit and well made. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're wearing them every day, it's something Michelle told me. She was like, you have to wear the clothes to know what you have to fix, and they do that.
Yes. That's very interesting, yeah.
If you go to their showroom as well, the staff at the showroom, they just look like his people.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible. They really buy into the whole ethos. You know, they wear the clothes on a daily basis. It's not just for one day.
Yeah.
It's not. Some showrooms you go to and you can see that they've been allocated a uniform.
Yeah.
But you don't. You know, they wear it every day. They live that lifestyle, and they could be Italian or they could be French, or it doesn't really matter. They're still Rick Owens. It's a really weird kind of...
I think it goes back to that whole conversation on vision, and you've got similar like-minded people that have bought into that, the same as when you go to say like the Com showroom, it's devoted Com fans go and work for Com, same way that I imagine people who die-hard Rick fans, you've gone to that brand because you love what they create, as opposed to you just want another job in fashion.
Slightly scary though, isn't it, that they just become like... boom. You know, that single vision.
Well, not really. You know, you like an actor or a film star, you like a particular novelist, and you go back to them every time because they feel whatever you want. And surely that's the same with clothes, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you take from it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
What you want.
Yeah, you do.
I do know what you mean about this, like, the word cult is thrown around a lot.
Yeah,
when it comes to Rick, and I do know
exactly. I mean, if you go to Ralph Lauren,
Yeah.
it's quite cultish culture.
Yeah.
Because I've known people that have gone there and then they just completely change. It's completely. It's not even about them anymore. It's about this world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a little bit dangerous because I think, you know, I'm sure we're all in this because we have a clear vision of what we like, and I think that individuality is really important to especially to the industry, because it just moves it on. You see it with a fresh pair of eyes, and you do go back to it, but it's kind of almost, you know, if everyone was like that, it'd be so one-dimensional.
Sure.
You know.
Yes. I think the bolder major designers, which is undoubtedly is, I think we're all agreeing on that, the better it is for every. I mean, I dress in Ralph Lauren. I wear nothing but Ralph Lauren, and that is because he understands people who live my sort of life, and my sort of figure, and my sort of age. But he goes round and round in circles. I think they're very beautiful circles.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. Seems to me that this man is always pushing out in unexpected places, and I think that's surely what a designer is all about, yeah?
But surely they're both just developing their essence, aren't they?
Well, you are what you are,
No.
you know.
That's why the label title says a lot to me, because that's the direction that he
Yeah,
wanted.
yeah.
He distilled all his I don't know what is his language through that. And because I mean, I looked at some of the previous collections before finding out the name, and then finding the name influenced how I saw it. And I thought that interesting.
Did it kind of
As
make
a performance.
sense?
I never take notice.
No,
of it.
it's like a theater piece.
Yeah,
So
no,
like,
I think it's an interesting.
that could be called Arctic, I don't know, diamond or something cheesy. It could be anything, and then you
it could
go,
be
oh,
anything,
well,
yes.
then what we were saying is valid. It's like,
But what I think is interesting to know about Rick is that the names that he's giving collections. I think that's more for the people who follow it than for him, because it's like to see throughout there's no sort of differentiation in the final destination of it. Do you know what I mean? That he knows where he wants to go with it, I think it's more about classification. It's a really smart way to do it. It's about classification. It's about kind of punctuating periods of time. Do you know what I mean? It's more binary than it's about the narrative. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, that's true.
And I think that it would be interesting to know, but I think that but the sensibility is completely detached from that. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think it's important or useful or helpful at all to have notes, you know, and when you pick up the notes on your chair, I never read them because
Depends
I don't want
on what
anyone to try.
perspective.
I don't want anyone to try to make up
No,
my
I agree.
mind. Also, they're unbelievably pretentious.
Yeah.
Always.
But that's the problem with this industry. As soon as you start talking about
Yeah.
this,
It's
you just
you
sound
for
incredibly
almost-
wanky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's true.
You know, try watching this
Try
back
things,
later.
Gareth.
I'll be cringing. And
Gareth
watch it.
hates notes.
No.
I like notes, and I like to that I've done something that he reads before, just because I need to know just so that I can refer to things with him. Like, I need to know what he's talking about. Everything's inside his head, and he'd prefer to keep it that way. But I think that notes are helpful, especially when people see so many shows, and if it was up to me, I would have them, because I think that if it's the right person writing them, and if they really know what you're trying to communicate, it just moves things along. Do you know what I mean? I think there can be a lot of kind of, I don't know. I think it can get messy otherwise. And
Well,
but I'm verbal. I'm a communicator in that way, whereas he's visual.
Sure.
So it's.
I think that if it's the designer's own word,
Yeah.
it never is. It's some spare
Yeah.
journalist who wants to make this
But
money.
someone like Joanne Furness, I know that she has done notes before for people, but only for people that she really understands. And that really trust her enough to tell her everything.
Yeah.
Then she can take it and she can put it in a kind of, translate it in a language that the writers understand, because there's nothing more frustrating than when people completely go off on a tangent and take it away from what it was the designer wanted it to be. So I don't know.
It almost needs to come internally. So
Yeah.
if you're, say, to be working with a long-term stylist or consultant, or whether it's some part of the team, your right-hand man or woman, whoever that is, who's shared that process with you, and they understand the vision and they put that out, as opposed to somebody externally coming in and summing up that collection of what they think it's to be, because it should come from that pure essence. From in the same way that you're saying that you like to know what the title is, you're saying that you like the notes.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're saying Rick might not go with a title, but it's almost, to me, it sounds like you need that anchor point in terms of which that's enough for you to go forward, and you having the notes is enough. And it's, to me, often when you see the notes, I would more glance to see in terms of a credit point of view to see who's just to see the process. But in terms of like what's been written, it does become a little bit.
It makes no difference to me
No.
whatsoever.
No, you're not.
They're completely irrelevant to anything that I do and the way that I see things, because I'm just sat there just looking at them, and I'm constantly making decisions and forming my opinion, and you know, I don't care what's written on a bit of paper. It's not about that.
The basic decision is, can I sell this to somebody?
No, it isn't. It depends who it is. Well,
Fine, talk
primarily, is it what I want to show in the store? Is it beautiful? Is it incredibly well made?
Is it your aesthetic?
Is it our aesthetic? And then, unfortunately, I think, can I sell it? And obviously that is the most important thing, especially for a young growing business. And I'd love to have the luxury of having a store for the things that museum pieces, but that doesn't work. But no, primarily, I want people to walk in and just go, this is like the best place I've ever been to. Whether you like it or not, this is absolutely lovely. Look at that, it's incredible. And that's what I want for people to walk into the store. Otherwise, if I could sell it, I might as well just be TK Maxx, a mini version of. It's not
So
really
would you buy what used to be called years ago window pieces?
Always.
You put them in the window and you don't expect
always
to sell
lost
it.
leaders. A lot of the a lot of the brands are kind of stuff that it's a very political game as well. If you want one brand, you have to have another brand, because that brand A wants to sit next to brand B. So even though you might not like brand A, you have to go with them because they've opened their doors to get brand B. It's a very tactical. You start off with this one vision, but the best of it is quite political and quite tactical to get to where you want to be in 5 years' time. It's not, people think it's just shopping. It's a lot more complex than that, I think.
But then half the point of having a show is to have that whole loss leader process. That becomes your shop window as a designer in order to invite people into buying into your vision and your collection. Because half of, not say with Rick, because 90% of that will be bought by the stores and will be in the shops, but most designers who are doing shows need to have show pieces to get the press, but then what's going to be pared down will be the commercial versions, which Joe Public will go into Selfridges and spend their money on, but you have to have both.
Yeah.
Chris, you're very quiet.
Well, I don't really care about. No, this is no personal thing, but I like your story, but like I'm a designer that has made things that are impossible to sell and impossible to wear because I really like the idea of making them. And to be quite honest, I didn't really give a shit about the retail end of it because you can always simplify something extreme. You can make a simpler version of it, and that's fine. But the reason I mentioned like what's the name or what's the essence of it, I've never done that for any show before today. I'm just saying that I don't care because when I carefully pick the name of a collection, it's because it comes from some bile or some inspiration that's come from the inside of me that's personal. Bile, so it's like, well, no, do you know what I mean? That kind of like the visceral thing, and that I really want to know what makes this person tick. And if Rick Owens is this conglomerate situation where he's got a core vision, but there are many other factors, that's a very different thing. But for me, the thing that interests me most maybe would be like his first show and the collection he did because he was pissed off about something. You know, it's a visceral thing I'm interested in, not the business, which is why it's interesting to hear your point of view because I've rarely considered those things.
It's not just about the business. This is why.
Well, you know what I mean.
I didn't get in a sense, but you have to be. It's all about the product always.
Yeah.
You know, you live and die by your product. So, you know, which is why, you know, I know I've been talking a lot about kind of the money and the other people involved because it is an important factor to sit there and consider when you're, you know.
I don't think you need to defend it because
I don't either.
There's not a fashion house that is successful that doesn't operate because it hasn't got successful. If you look at Com, they sell thousands of wallets. If you look
perfumes.
at Louis Vuitton, it's the bags. It's not whichever brand it is. It's the perfume. It's the small loss leaders, the commercial entity. So I think the art does definitely need to come first because the vision needs to be there. But that commercial has to be there. Otherwise, then there's not. It doesn't work.
But just because as a personal creative person that makes things, that's how I think. It doesn't mean it's. I mean, it's so important.
I don't think it's your responsibility to think about it as
that's true. That's true. It isn't. You know, you should be there just being free to be the creative.
It comes back to the people you have around you.
The people around you, of course.
Yeah. At what point do you get your title? Do you start with the name of what it's all about?
That's a very good point.
Or at the very end, or halfway through, you suddenly get this is about whatever.
Well, no, you'll start designing pieces and it'll have a general theme and then you'll realise that, my second collection we did was called The Impossibility of Love, which is this kind of cheesy title, but I was in a situation that was so furiously annoying that I was so pissed off that I didn't care if it was cheesy. So I was doing these masks with 3 faces because the person I was with was worse than Two-Face. And I had masks with spikes coming out of it forever ago that was because the words pissed me off. And these things just infiltrated into this little paragraph that I wrote saying that, you know, sometimes you're like attracted to things that are dangerous.
I love the idea that, well, when we're looking at your clothes, we're looking at your heart and soul because
absolutely.
I think that's what it's all about. That's the difference between great design or great anything really and
great art and culture.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it permeates all of art and culture and, you know, all the creative
and perhaps
elements.
that's what's wrong from the fashion point of view with names like, dare I say them, Ralph, Tommy Hilfiger, or because you don't get necessarily the spirit of the man whose name is on the label.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No. I don't think Tommy ever had really a spirit.
No.
Well, in that he was reactive. This is fine. He was reactive.
Yeah.
Really, and I think he thought, well, there's a lot of money to be made out of doing a Ralph Lauren.
This preppy thing. Let's get on board.
And that's fine, you know. But I think that this is what creativity is all about. You've got to be, whether you're a stylist, whether you're selling clothes, whatever, designing, you have to be fearless. And this fearlessness comes from total self-belief, because you can't do it any other way.
Yeah.
If you can do it in a million, well, like, you want it in pink, we'll do it in pink. You want it in green,
it's pointless.
That's not what I think is design. Would you agree with that?
I think that compromising sometimes it isn't an option. I mean, there are moments when it's appropriate, and there's moments when it's just the way it is. You take it or leave it. I mean, otherwise go to someone else, because this is why I'm in the room, why you're in the room, why you have your voice, and why you even get up in the morning.
Yeah,
you know, if you're going to do it 20 different ways and distill the essence of it, then, I mean, for me, I'm not interested.
The thing is, it's fight and talk, but the actual reality of it is absolutely exhausting.
It is exhausting.
And I think
it is because it gets to the point where you're literally having a battle over the minutest detail.
Yeah, everything,
and it's
everything
like,
becomes an issue. Everything.
You know,
but
it's hard, and you're both right. By the way, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. It is, you know, it's just from a small business standpoint. It's
you're talking about
very,
business,
very,
but it's the
very
same
hard.
thing. It's like you must have,
you know,
invested so much time
and energy,
and money.
the look and feel of what we're doing,
Yeah.
and then to have to sit there and make a compromise about something, you know, pretty insignificant, is just as difficult to make a compromise as
But there's nothing insignificant, is there, really?
No, there isn't.
You know, it all has its place, and it's got to be right.
And that's it. That's why I've ended up doing more music tours than anything. Like not I've done hundreds of, what I mean is that because like instead of going out and looking for stockists and making that approaching it from that vision, I now get to put the extreme masks in a show that people go and get to watch, and it gets to go in the show, and it fits.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
I think that's genius, because you found a way of doing what you want to do, and you found a way of making it work, and that is the hardest thing.
And that's why I can say what I'm saying when it's like, now the mask that I could never sell in the street corner is on stage with Manson singing Sweet Dreams, and it makes sense, and there's stage lights, and I'm going, shit, I didn't think that would have happened, but that's really cool for me.
What a happy accident.
It's like, and it is about finding like where it flows and following it and making it work. And then maybe, you know,
I think it's rather a good place to stop. I hope we've given the people out there as much to think about as I've had listening to you all. I found this really very stimulating and very exciting, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
And thank Rick Owens for starting that.
Thanks, Rick.
Cheers, Rick.
Okay, thank you.